Good morning. It's Friday morning. We're out here on the back porch office. We're going to read Acts 2:43 through 47, the rest of chapter 2. And awe came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were being done through the apostles. And all who believed were together and had all things in common. And they were selling their possessions and belongings and distributing the proceeds to all as any had need. And day by day attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes, they received their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to their number day by day those who were being saved. One thing I want to add to yesterday's devotion, I talked about the liturgy a lot. There are a great many resources in this world of prayers. So, pick your tradition, Lutheran or Anglican or Roman Catholic or whatever you like, and look it up on the internet, and you can find a great many prayers that will be good for you to memorize and pray. There's nothing wrong with that, and you should think about that. Well, today we're into this little piece of a glimpse of the life of the early church, and I'm going to say a couple things here that are going to terrify some of you, but I want you to hear me out. And what I'm going to say is this. We all grew up during the Cold War, and we learned to hate Russians, as Dylan sang. We learned how evil they were, and we learned that communism was a bad thing. And state-sponsored Russian, Soviet communism, yes, it was a bad thing. It didn't work. That doesn't mean, and here's the part that's going to make you quit with this, socialism is not necessarily the same as the Soviet Union, and it's not necessarily bad. Now, I know that goes against all kinds of political philosophies that you have, and I don't want you to get mad at me for that, but it's true, and I want you to think about that a little bit. And think about how, in our time, in our country, we have got people who how do you express this? I'm not sure, but we sort of live our lives in society, and we also participate in the church. Church is one thing among many others that we do. We go to Rotary Club, we go to bowling league, we play bridge, and we go to church, and it's just one more thing. For these ancient people, the church was the center of their lives. Now, this is the very young church, just the first few months. So they haven't had a lot of time to let it become a part of the rhythm of their daily lives. It was their daily life in those early days. And what it says that they did was they sold all their belongings and sold the stuff they didn't need and pooled the money, and then use that money to help the other people in the church and probably the poor around them, because they had that kind of motivation toward generosity and giving. And so that's something we could think about. Now, I'm not saying we should all sell our houses and have a great big pot of money and all live at the church building. Calm down. But there are congregations that I think, there are congregations where this kind of thing, helping the people in the church and also helping the neighborhood, is kind of routine. There are churches where it would be discussed for 6 months in a session meeting before anything would happen, but there are congregations where it's sort of routine. Oh, we have this need, somebody needs this, let's just go do it. And it's going to cost $8,000. That's not a problem. Let's do it, and that's what we do, and that's a good thing. It also says here that I can get it back up on my little screen. They met day by day at the temple and broke bread in their homes, receiving their food with glad and generous hearts. So, to have a glad and generous heart is, I think, something that we could seek, we could emulate, we could try to attain that in our own lives. And I've known a lot of people who weren't particularly glad, and a lot of people who weren't particularly generous, and a lot of people who were neither. And that's too bad, because I think if we could attain that glad and generous heart, then we find that life goes much better for us and for the people around us, also, but better for us. And that's what I think we all want. So read this passage again, look up some prayers. Don't just type prayer into Google, because who knows what you'll get. But, pick a tradition, and, Lutheran prayers, Anglican prayers. Presbyterians don't have a big pool of these. We do have the Book of Common Worship, but it's kind of stolen from other traditions. So I think you'll do well if you'll start off with some of those traditions. So pick a tradition, see what you can find.